Hey there, how you doing? Welcome. Today, we're going to talk about centering the ball, keeping the ball in the center of the court. Hold on, let me get myself straightened out here. All right, so in this talk, this is part 5 of Tennis Strategy 101. And one of the most important things that you can do with your beginner players is to start to give them a framework for strategy, because then that means that they're going to have a pathway that they're going towards. They're going to have, they understand why they have to hit the ball to certain places, and they need to learn to be able to hit targets on the court. So those of you who are obsessed with technique, then what I would like you to do is channel that into this phrase: technical solutions to tactical problems. This is a great, great phrase, and this should guide much of your teaching and all that. So what specific shots are you teaching to execute certain things in a match? Because if it's just to get the ball in, then that's really not specific enough. And those players are going to be losing to people who are playing a lot more intelligently. So you don't want to lose. Instead, you want to win. And one of the greatest things that people do is they keep the ball in the center of the court. Now, I don't know if you've seen those diagrams where it says A, B, C, D, right? But basically up the center of the court would be B and C. And what that accomplishes is a few different things. So when you hit the ball up the center of the court or at the person, the most important thing is that you keep them from moving. And what you'll notice is that some of your opponents really love to run. They really do. And they can generate good power when they're running, but they don't generate so much power when they're standing still. So this is a really important thing. Now, the converse is also true. Some people love to be able to stand still and really get their weight transfer going forward because they've got more to work with there, and they don't want to run. So this is not 100% ironclad. Now, one thing you'll see, when anybody ever plays a Williams sister, they almost always keep a large percentage of their shots up the center of the court, because both Venus and Serena are amazing at hitting great angles. So they want to shorten that up. All right. So that's number 2, is that when you hit up the center of the court, you take away angles from them. Because once you get off to the side, then the angle for the cross court becomes much greater, and greater potential for you to be pulled off the court. And then another thing that happens is sort of this caging effect. That's a phrase that I got from Sterling Strother. You cage the player. So you jam them, and they're not able to swing out as much. One of the new tactics that's happening more and more on the Pro Tour is that people are hitting returns back to the server's forehand side in B and trying to jam them and keep them from hitting a very good return, a very good, second shot, S+1, if you will. So that's an interesting thing too. But now, for the beginner, keeping the ball up the center of the court has another benefit, and that is that if you miss by 5 or even 10 or even, even 27, even if you miss by 13.5 feet, then your ball is still in. So that's another important thing for the beginner, because if they go deep down the middle, then it's the safest shot. Although I've heard that if you're going cross court and you're late, then you're going to have a better chance of getting the ball in. But then, what if you're early? Okay, let's not go too deeply into that one. Now, one of the greatest wins that I've had as a coach with a player who pulled a big upset was my number 92 ranked player was playing the number 1 player in NorCal. And this was in a high school match. And that number 1 player was getting a full ride to University of California. So no one gave my kid a chance. I mean, the match was tied at 3-all, and it was coming to the final match, and it was Stefan versus Ty, and everybody on my team had pretty much given up. And I said, you know what, guys, come on, you have to believe in miracles. Are you not a sports fan, right? You got to root for your guy. So anyway, the interesting thing about this guy, Ty, was he was amazingly fast. One of the fastest high school players I've ever seen. In fact, I would say he's probably the fastest player on the court I ever saw playing a high school match. So the game plan was to keep him in the center of the court, with the caveat that as soon as my guy, Stefan, got a short ball of any kind, he was to pummel it. He was to go for a winner immediately. Because there were a couple of things that we knew, all right? One, if you keep him in the center of the court, he doesn't quite generate enough power. He was not a big physical player. He was tall and very lean, but very quick, and so he would get out on the wing, and his angular ability would come out, and he could start turning that match into a track meet, and you weren't going to win that track meet. So Stefan lost the first set 6-3, but he was playing the game plan perfectly. And, I think a lot of people would have predicted 6-1 or 6-0 before the match. So I was happy. I was, even if he was going to lose, 6-3, 6-3, that would have been very, respectable. So at the beginning of the second set, Stefan was down a break already, so it was 2-1. So I went out on the court and I said, look, you're playing the game plan really well, and you still have a chance here. And I said, are you ready to play the best tennis of your life? Right. And Stefan is really, really a cool kid and just really low key. And he just simply did this. So, and then he went and he did it. So he did an amazing job of keeping that ball just ever so slightly cross court, but deep down the center of the court, slightly cross court, because if you go the other side, you go to the backhand and you're sort of hitting slightly down the line, you give the opponent a chance to change direction of the ball. And then now you've opened up some angles. That's something Paul Wardlaw calls the inside ball. So you want to keep the ball to the outside, hitting very slightly cross court. So he did that. And then as soon as there was a short ball, he would just come in and crush the ball. And he was probably making a few errors, but he happened to get quite a few errors and unforced errors. Winners and unforced errors out of that, but mostly winners. Now, and you had to do that, because if you didn't really go all out, you weren't going to put Ty under pressure enough to do it, because he's just so fast. He just has to get in position. So that ball has to go 80 miles an hour, 70, 80 miles an hour. You can't just roll a 50 mile an hour shot in there. It's just not going to happen. He's going to go get that. No problem. So then, Stefan comes back and wins the second set, and everybody's shocked. It was amazing. I wish I could tell you that he won the match, but he didn't. Really, the match really came down to fitness at that point. And, Ty, having been in these big moments against many tough players over the years and being supremely fit, was able to win the match. So, but there was a moment when we sort of knew it was over. because, Ty had sort of figured out the strategy being used against him. And Stefan hit a really big shot up the middle, got a short ball, hit an amazing short angle shot to the tee on the forehand side, very close to the line. Ty moved over. He was about 5 or maybe more feet wide of the single sideline. He was outside the doubles alley. I know that for sure. And then he hit one of those shots that's out until it's in. And then that made it 4-1 in the third set. And that's when we went, okay, he's just too good. Right. But the moral of the story is playing a smart strategy of centering that ball and taking away the angles, taking away the strength of the opponent, who really loves to run, is one of the best runners, around at that time. Gave him a chance. He had a look at it. He had a potential of maybe winning that match. So maybe if he'd played the best tennis of his life in the first set, maybe we're talking about a win, but you can't go backwards. So anyway, these are some of the things that really work with keeping the ball down the middle. And so, this is a thing that you can do. Let's say you're trying for good cross-court shots, but for whatever reason, you keep hitting wide. Then shift to the down the middle shot, because your first job is to reduce your own errors. So anyway, thanks for taking some time out to watch this, and thank you to those of you who have bought me a cup of coffee. I do appreciate it. And go ahead, and if you're interested in my books, take a look at my books. You can find some of this stuff in Top 5 Strategies for Winning Tennis. But at the end of this month, a new ebook will be ready to go. It's going to be called Tennis Strategy 101. And then we'll launch into Tennis Strategy 201. And then we'll go 301. So this is mainly aimed at the beginner, intermediate, up to even 3-5, because I think there may be a few 3-5s who are helped by some of these new, not really new, some of these things that maybe they haven't thought about before. And one little nuance can really help them. But this is mostly targeted at newer players who want to start playing smart from the beginning and have a framework so that when they're learning strokes, they know why they're doing it. And that's a lot more motivating. All right. So as always, go and spend your digital currency. So when you see stuff that you like, press like, share to people that you want to share it with. Push things out, because that's you helping grow the game, right? And, if you're finding value, then respond in value, because this is what I do too. I mean, every time I go to the coffee shop where I do my work, I buy coffee for sure. Some people go in there and don't even buy coffee. And then I always throw in a tip, because those people, working there, they really need those tips. I mean, inflation's going through the roof. So keep that in mind, that people's salaries are not keeping up with the cost of goods. So a little gratitude goes a long way. And a funny thing is, the more you give it, the more it's going to come back on you. So thanks for watching, and have a great day.